Hi everybody, this is Zach from StartAbroad. Today we're going to be talking about the 6 most common challenges when applying for Costa Rica's Digital Nomad Visa. Costa Rica's Digital Nomad Visa has made Costa Rica one of the most accessible countries for people with remote work flexibility. It's actually much easier to obtain than a lot of other countries' Digital Nomad Visa offerings, and it's far easier to get than Costa Rica's other typical temporary residency pathways. That said, there are some difficulties with applying for the visa, and so today we're going to get into those and help you overcome those obstacles. Before we do, let's take a step back and talk about the application process as a whole and who qualifies for the Digital Nomad Visa. So in order to qualify for the Digital Nomad Visa, you need to demonstrate that you've made at least $3,000 per month over the 12 months before applying. If you're going to be applying on behalf of any dependents, a spouse, or children, for instance, you need to demonstrate that you've made at least $4,000 per month over the past 12 months. When completing the final step of the application, you're also going to need to demonstrate that you have a health insurance policy that covers up to $50,000 per applicant. There are 4 steps to the Costa Rica Digital Nomad Visa application process. Step 1 is creating an account on immigration's online portal called Tramite Ya. Step 2 is submitting what's called affiliation procedure. So that's the basic application. And with that, you're going to need to include things like your passport, a passport photo, and some basic information about yourself. Step 3 is where you're going to submit the meat of the application. So if you're the main applicant, that's where you're going to submit your proof of financial solvency. That's where you're going to submit things like your marriage and birth certificates, etc. And step 4 is your in-person meeting with immigration. If that's successful, you should get your DMEX card within 2 weeks, and you have your Costa Rica Digital Nomad Visa. One thing to be aware of, so the Costa Rica Digital Nomad Visa is good for 1 year, and you can renew it for a second year. One thing that can cause a lot of confusion with people is that your year actually starts ticking after your step 3 is approved, not when you get your DMEX card and not when you complete your in-person step 4 appointment. The entire process typically takes between 4 and 10 weeks, although processing times vary widely, as we're going to talk about soon. Generally, just prepare to be patient and prepare to submit all the documents you're going to need up front the first time so you don't give immigration a reason to reject your application and therefore cause you to go back to step 1. Remember, if you're considering applying for Costa Rica's Digital Nomad Visa or moving to Costa Rica, Panama, or Portugal, and you don't want to have to go it alone, StartAbroad is here to help. We offer a full Costa Rica Digital Nomad Visa application support service, and we offer a lot of other services that are going to make your transition to your new dream home much easier and smoother and take out a lot of the stress of the move. We would love to hear from you. You can check us out, www.startabroad.com. We'll link more information about our Digital Nomad Visa service in the description. We offer free consultations. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, let's get into the 6 most common challenges when applying for Costa Rica's Digital Nomad Visa. Challenge number 1. The process is largely in Spanish. So the online portal, they do have an English option, but even then, there's a lot of elements that are in Spanish. Similarly, when you schedule your step 4 in-person appointment, you need to call a number in Costa Rica and you're going to speak with an immigration agent, and mostly they don't speak English. So you're going to need to negotiate this fairly complex discussion and process in Spanish, and it can be just really challenging and frustrating for all parties. If you are not fluent in Spanish or have decent Spanish or have a friend who can help you out, we recommend seeking help for the application process because it's going to make your life way easier. Challenge number 2, variability of enforcement. Costa Rica is a wonderful country, and this process has been designed pretty well to make it fairly streamlined and easy to get for people who just want to spend a year living in Costa Rica. However, the process isn't the same every time, and that's because just the enforcement of different components of the application process can be very different. And there's not always a reason why. It can just, sometimes you may have bad luck or an immigration official didn't like something about your application. So it's not always clear. We've seen people get through this process in 2 weeks, and we've seen people get through this process in 3.5 months, and there's nothing different about their application. We've also seen one application be prevented, which means that you have a few days to correct something that the immigration official didn't like about your application for something that we had seen get approved on other applications. So you can't always anticipate exactly how your application process will go. Challenge number 3, parent surnames. In Latin American countries, it's very typical for individuals to have 2 surnames. It's generally the name of the father and the mother. So what you'll see when you're having to provide information in the online portal for the Digital Nomad Visa application, it's going to ask you for several surnames. In the US and Canada, it's not nearly as common to have two surnames. However, you can't leave the second field blank even if you don't have a surname. We've seen a lot of applications get held up because of that issue. Challenge number 4, step 3, government application fee payments. So when submitting your step 3, you need to demonstrate that you've paid the $100 government application fee. It's a bit counterintuitive because this is a process for digital nomads. They have an online portal that is designed to allow people to apply from abroad. However, as of the beginning of June, you can't actually submit the $100 payment online. Some people try to make transfers directly to Banco CR, but that doesn't count. What you need is a stamped receipt from Banco CR that has your name and passport number on it. And you can only get that by making the payment in person out of Banco CR. Yeah, so you're probably saying, well, I'm not in Costa Rica yet. Yeah, it's a big challenge. In that case, if you're not in Costa Rica yet, you're going to need to find somebody in Costa Rica to make the payment for you. It's a big pain in the butt. So it's something that StartAbroad can help you with. And for all of our clients, we make these payments on our clients' behalfs. But just know that if you are applying from the US or Canada and you're not in Costa Rica yet, this is something you're going to need help with. 5, documentation. So the Costa Rica Digital Nomad Visa process is designed to be a lot easier to get than other temporary residency options. Other temporary residency options can be extremely difficult. You're going to need these deep FBI background checks. You're going to need all these documents apostilled and notarized. And for the Costa Rica Digital Nomad Visa, you largely don't need that, except if you're applying for dependents. If you're going to apply for dependents for a spouse, for instance, or your children, you're going to still need marriage certificates and birth certificates reissued within the last 6 months or 6 months before your application. And those documents need to be apostilled. Getting documents procured and apostilled from US government agencies is generally one of the most tedious and painful parts of this process. Although there are companies in the US that can expedite this for you, I'm happy to make a recommendation if you want to reach out to us at info@startabroad.com. But just know that even though the documentation requirements are a lot less for the Digital Nomad Visa, there still are documentation requirements that can be fairly tedious to meet. Challenge number 6, sequencing. When applying for Costa Rica's Digital Nomad Visa, a lot of applicants expect to submit their family's applications all at once. They expect to be processed all at once, and they expect all their step 4 appointments to be at the same time. In practice, that's not how it works, and that's for a few reasons. First, before you can submit a dependent's step 3, you need the main applicant's step 3 to be put under review. That's because when a main applicant's step 3 is put under review, you get a specific number that you need then when you're submitting the dependent step 3s to tie those documents to the main applicant. The challenge here is the timing of when a main applicant step 2 is approved and step 3 is put under review is highly variable. We've seen this again take 7 days, and we've seen it take 2 months to put a step 3 under review. So what you don't want to do is submit a dependent step 2 too early, because you only have 5 business days to submit a step 3 after step 2 has been approved. So the risk there is you're waiting for this certain number from the main applicant in order to submit the dependent step 3, but then the step 2, the 5 days expires. Another thing to look out for is that you only have 90 days once a step 3 has been approved to complete your step 4 in-person appointment. So you don't want to submit your application too soon, because then those 90 days might run out. Let's say that you're planning on coming in December and you submit your application in June. It's possible that your application is going to get approved really quickly, and then your 90 days are going to expire. Overall, the process is fairly straightforward, but there's still a lot of pitfalls and things that trip people up all the time. We have a lot of experience with this visa now, and we offer a full Digital Nomad Visa support package. There's more information about that in the description below, but please don't hesitate to reach out even if you just have some questions. You can reach us at info@startabroad.com. Thanks very much.